Hey y'all, welcome to another video. Today we're talking about project pans. So I have a long sordid history with project pans. I have done everything from like very small, successful project pans to large, um, possibly overzealous project pans. But I guess first we need to define what is a project pan. A project pan is a self-contained project. So this is a project that you set for yourself. It's not necessarily defined by anybody else or what they do. It's individually tailored to what your goals are in using your makeup. For me, a project pan kind of entails using up your products. That is why I have project panned in the past. A project pan can also be a chance to refamiliarize yourself with some stuff in your stash that may be going old, maybe getting old. You're going to identify a group of products and you're going to attempt to use those up or hit another goal that you decide in a prescribed period of time. I already touched on it a little bit, but why do we project pan? I personally project pan because it gives me a chance to feel an immense amount of achievement. Makes me feel like I have accomplished something if I can use up an entire bronzer, can use up an entire concealer in a specific period of time. And there's something really exciting about starting with a full pan and getting down to the hitting pan and then being able to repress what's left when you get down to the dregs and finally being able to finish it. There is something so exciting about that. It gives me all the good tingles and it feels really good. Another reason that you would project pan is if you have something in your collection that you can't pass along to somebody because it's just not sanitizable, but you don't want it in your collection anymore. You're done with it. Project pan it, finish it, get it done and move on. That does also feel really good. Things change color. Your skin changes. You may have bought a bronzer 2 years ago and recently learned that that bronzer is just a bit too orange. That is a good opportunity to project pan it on days that like you're wearing makeup around the house. It doesn't have to be an everyday use, but these are things that you can rotate in and out. And much like the other two options, the other two examples, something is taking up real estate. It's sitting in your collection, it's languishing. It's a good opportunity to pick that item to project pan and focus on using it over a long period of time. So, problems I have had with project panning. I have purchased stuff in the past that just wasn't right for my skin type. I have discovered that any kind of like a liquid silicone primer, any primer that's like a silicone base that's meant to be pore filling or give you this like veil across the face of, blurred skin, it doesn't work on me. I don't like them. They either don't work with they either don't work with my skincare, they don't work with the makeup I'm putting on top. I haven't been able to find a way that I like to use them. At one point, I had like 3 or 4 of those in a project pan. I didn't finish any of them. I booted them. And that is where isolating a product and really examining how it works into your own makeup routine can really be helpful. It helps with that decluttering process later on. because you can be like, oh yeah, I tried this and I don't like it anymore. So I'm getting rid of it. In my opinion, life is too short to wear crappy makeup. It just is. So if I identify something to Project Pan and it turns out that I really don't like it, I'm not going to mince words. I'm just going to declutter it and I'm going to move on to something else because there's no point in making myself miserable. There is no point in suffering when it comes to my makeup. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable. This is one of the areas of my life that really gives me a lot of serotonin, a lot of dopamine, and I just don't want to be stuck using crappy products forever. That being said, it also gives me the ability to reframe my purchasing. I know how long one of those primers takes to use up. So I am not on a primer purchasing spree. I have the ones I need. I have a nice blurring primer. I have a glowy primer. I have some like iridescent soap bubble primers. I am good. I don't need to go out and shoot my wad buying primers that I know are not going to work for me. And I learned that through project panning. So it's not just an attempt to use your makeup, but an attempt to refamiliarize and really identify how to make your makeup work for you instead of you working to use up your makeup. So who would benefit from a project pan? If you wear makeup every single day, I think you would be great at a project pan. If you are somebody who has a lot of makeup, you would probably benefit from a project pan. If you are somebody who does not get bored easily, I get bored easily now. I get bored project panning, which is one of the reasons that I just don't do it anymore. I did it when I needed to, and I have learned a lot from it. So let's go through my personal history as a project panner. I started out with a very small group of mini products. I really wanted to set myself up for success. So I chose all minis that were already in my collection. Some of them were partly used. Some of them were things I didn't even know if I liked. But this was the time to really sink my teeth in and get to know them. And within a few months, most of those were gone. And I set myself up for a huge project pan the next year. Huge. I took a count, 30, I had 36 items in my next project pan, which was a rolling face of makeup. So I have been a big fan of beauty news and the individual ladies who create beauty news. Kat and Haley started a tag, Team Project Pan. It's a rolling face of makeup, but we all supported each other. We had a hashtag and we really made sure that everybody got support. Everybody got cheered on and uplifted and was excited to use their makeup. And I think that that element of community really helped me set lofty goals. I didn't reach all of those goals, but I was able to shed a lot of weight back in 2019. So 36 individual items. I made a spreadsheet. Correction, I used the spreadsheet. Haley created the spreadsheet. I just used it. And during this time, one of the things that I found I really was not good at was monthly updates. I was not good at updating that spreadsheet and updating my project every month. And eventually I just started finishing things, and I would mark them as finished in the project, and I would mark them as finished on the spreadsheet. Later, I started keeping a notebook because I thought that would help. I started a bullet journal in 2020. You can imagine how well that went. And in that bullet journal, I had all of my Project Pan stuff. So I didn't go too far when it came to physically writing something down, but I'll be damned if I wasn't good at taking a photo and uploading that to Instagram when I either hit pan on something or I finished something. I was always there to take project progress photos. So, what kind of products did I really enjoy panning? And what did I feel like was just a slog to get through? Well, we have to remember this was 2018, 2019. I was working. I was working outside of the house. I was working with the public. It was pre-pandemic, and I had a lot of makeup. I have a lot of makeup now, but I feel like it's a much more curated collection. I'm a lot pickier about the things that I bring into my collection. I could pan a foundation, I could pan a concealer, no problem. Powder was a little more difficult because I have dry skin, and now I know that my under eyes don't love powder. Usually, regardless of the concealer, my under eyes don't take powder very well. So identifying an entire big tub of Coty Airspun powder to use was just not reasonable. It wasn't a rational decision. And I very quickly learned that. And instead of forcing myself to use that powder, I gave it to a friend who has oily skin and loves that powder. So I passed it on, I got it out of my collection. But what putting it in the project allowed me to do was isolate it and understand that this is not a product that works for me. And I think that is the hidden gem of project panning. I tried to pan a palette. I tried to pan a 10 pan NYX palette. Now, in many ways, this was great. The palette was very lightly pigmented. I was able to really dig in, and I quickly hit pan in multiple shades. But what I noticed was that I was reaching for that all the time to do my makeup for work, and I wasn't giving the rest of my products, the rest of my palettes specifically, I wasn't using them. They were languishing. They were just sitting there looking at me like, we're sad and lonely because we don't get used. So I quickly discovered that whilst I love the idea of being able to pan a whole palette, and I admire those who can, it's not my jam. And that's okay. I can pan a lip balm like nobody's business. I can pan concealers. Those are pretty easy. But when it comes to things that are more pigmented, things that have more specified use, it's harder. And that's okay. I don't pan lipsticks anymore. I don't even buy liquid lipsticks because I know better. I know better. I can, if I need to, I can pan a setting spray. But this is why I don't pan anymore, because I find myself just naturally going through my makeup. I find myself naturally hitting pan on my Make Beauty powder, making a big dent in my Kosas powder. And those are really some of the only powders that I have that I use on a regular basis. I have learned how to cull and curate my collection to a point where I don't necessarily need to project pan. And for me, that's really exciting because it means that I have an awareness of all of my products and I know how they function. and I don't need to go through this in-depth period of re-examining how they work. All right. Lessons I learned. Don't try to pan palettes, lipsticks. I'm very picky about powders. I I'm not a big fan of eye crayons. I have had a bunch over the years, and when I've needed them for a photo shoot where we were playing with water, waterproof eyeshadow crayons are great, but they're just not something that, unless they're really special, they're not something I reach for very often. Brow products, for me, there's very little point in panning brow products. There's also next to no point in purchasing brow products because I have the ones I like and I know what those are and they're pretty easily replaced. I also learned how to properly identify my products for project panning. At first, I tried to be subtle with it and just put like a little stripe of nail polish across the back. I can't do that. I don't see them and I don't want to reach for them. Excuse me, Loki, why are we scratching at the couch, bud? I needed to make my products easily visible to my eye. And the way that I did that was with washi tape. I was changing washi tape colors every 3 to 6 months so that when I would see the blue tape and I knew that I was on the green tape, that this had been in my project pan previously. I don't know if I'm necessarily panning this, but I am using it with intent. So the intention is to finish it, but I'm not forcing myself to use it every time I do my makeup. Good God, Charlotte, why can't I get the cap off of this? And this is why I'm trying to get rid of it. Um, Little lipsticks like this that are dinky, they get lost in my collection and then they end up going off. I have been using this for cream blush. I've just been swiping it on my cheeks. It's a satin formula. It's a beautiful blush. I think it's a nicer blush than is a lipstick, but I don't like this color on me. So I'm not using it as a lipstick. I am using it as a cream blush. Pretty, okay, I'm not gonna tighten this. I'm not gonna put that on all the way because that's what's gonna make it hard to open. And if I can't open it, I won't use it. Plain and simple. So instead of project panning, I have reframed the conversation in my head to using things with intention. I have panned a lot of makeup over the years, a lot of it intentionally, but I've also decluttered a lot of makeup. And it does make one more aware of how long it takes to finish a blush, to finish a lipstick, to finish an eyeshadow. It takes a long time, even with consistent measured use. It takes a long time to finish these products. And I think if you are somebody who has a problem with compulsive shopping, this can also be a way to reframe and retrain your brain to look at what you have and enjoy the things that you have in front of you instead of constantly looking outside for new makeup. Because in the makeup sphere, there's always something new. Now, is it really new or is it just something that a brand is bringing out with a different label? That's really the point of project panning, is to isolate and use up what you have. Whether that is something you intend to replace will show itself as you are working on it. I will tell you why. This is a stick highlighter from Tristique. It's huge and it's bulky, and I don't like how big it is. But I had one of these in that first project pan in my minis. I had a small one of these, and when I first started using it, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And as I continued to use it, I realized how much I loved this to the point where a year and a half later, I was still missing it. I was missing this exact product. So I went back and I repurchased it, and it's been in my collection, and it's gotten use ever since then. And I'm very happy to have it. It's, as far as stick highlighters go, it's a drier formula. It works on top of powder, and it's just a really nice color. So that is an example of a product really ingratiating itself into me as I continue to pan it. You know, I realized just how beautiful it was, how easy it was to use. It didn't pick up, it didn't pill, and it just made using it very easy. So I wanted to have it back in my life. I missed it. That is the outlier. That is really it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's exciting. It really is. I have used up entire bottles of foundation and been like, okay, I'm done with that. What else do I have? That's perfectly all right, because we always have something new. But knowing how long it takes me to finish a bottle of foundation, does that mean that I'm going out and buying them every 2 to 3 months? No. The ones I have been carefully curated to span the breadth of my need, from like stuff that's really balmy and high pigment to stuff that's lower in coverage but is really more a texture on the skin. And I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And I know that because I have spent years carefully honing in on what kind of makeup I like and what makeup I don't. And a lot of that knowledge has come from the many, many products I have successfully and unsuccessfully panned. If I'm not successfully panning those silicone primers, then I'm not going to go out and buy more. I'm just not. They're going to be on my do not purchase list. And I do have quite a lengthy list of things that I don't purchase because a project pan has shown me the light. If you have tried a project pan, if you have successfully panned a palette, if you have successfully panned a huge powder, let me know down below. What are the things that you can pan versus what you can't? Because everyone is different. Everyone has different needs and different uses for their products. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Thank you for spending the time with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you are taking care of yourself so you can take care of each other, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, friends. That was better than the last one. Why are we scratching? Miss Groucho, why do we scratch? Why do we scratch the Groucho? Groucho, why do you scratch the Coucho? Like, Mom, stop telling me what to do. Worry about yourself. You know that little girl's teacher was like, that was what she said a million times a day, was worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I love that kid.